Okay, in this session, we're going to do a quick overview of Microsoft Teams and show some basic things with the whiteboard. And our goal here is to get you to be able to use this, call me, have questions, use different features of this, and also to be able to come for our class sessions and be able to get in there. So Microsoft Teams on the left hand side has a bunch of icons here that switch between the different functions within Teams. And you have to remember the whole main purpose of Teams is for people to come together and be able to edit the same documents, to talk about them, share the documents, make changes to them, and do all that. So we might be using that just a little bit differently, but eventually we'll be collaborating too. So the main window is Microsoft Teams, which you see here. When I click on that icon, I get all the classes. Now this is my view, so I've created classes for EET 128 and 217 and 222. I have some older classes down here. The one that you might be in is the EET 128. If you're a first year student, I click down on here and you can see that we've done some further organization. The general area is where we have something that's not specific to a topic, and you can see that we've done some things in this general area, and everything is kept in track so that you can access it in the future. When we move on to topics in chapter 1, we'll do likewise, same thing, and do that, and everything will be arranged, organized in chapters. If you're a second year student and EET 217 is the course you're in, and the structure and the organization is very consistent. So these would each be chapter content and topics. And once again, if we did things, they would be in here. All the class sessions that we have online through Microsoft Teams are in here. I have not recorded and stored each one of those, and it looks like in the future that recording will only last for so long anyway. Might be a feature that we do in the future, but just to give you an idea. Now, if you ever have a problem and you wanted to deal with me one-on-one, if we click in this chat box here, it brings up a chat window, and here it says new chat on this button. So if I click on new chat and I enter your name, so if I start typing the names, it has access to uh, the email list from Stevens. I could pick a student and I could start a chat up with him. I'm not going to do that right now, but you could do that, and as long as you have a video and a microphone, we could see each other, we could chat back and forth, we could type stuff. This will be stored in your chat area, but it will not be stored anywhere else that people can see it. So these are chats that I've had with people in the past, and it keeps a history of there. The other nice thing about Microsoft Teams, this icon here is called Activity, and it will go back through and show you all the activity, whether someone sent you a message, whether you replied to it, any activity that you have, you can review it, and you can review the order that it turned in. Now, assignments is not something we're going to be using right now. Perhaps there's something in the future. Is there call? We're not going to use in the future. Files we might start to use, but for now, not. And you can see there's dot dot dot. There's other things down here, more apps to use. That's there. The one that you might be interested in is calendar. That brings up a calendar, and you can schedule meetings through that calendar. You can see here, if I click on the down arrow by the new meeting, I can schedule a meeting, or I can do it right now. You don't see anything in my calendar right now because I don't have anything scheduled, but back in August, I've had a number of things scheduled and done, and you should play around with that. The calendar is pretty easy to use. It's also very easy to schedule a new meeting. You just add a title here, say who you want to be in the meeting, if that's the way that you want to run the meeting, and that's probably how students will use it. So once again, if I start typing, that list comes up and I can select someone to put in there, set the date, start time, end time. If you don't want this meeting to happen multiple days, just leave it as does not repeat. If you want to do it in a channel, and when I schedule online sessions for Classroom, I would put a channel in here, and that would put it right in the link for it right into the Teams section. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to discard the changes. As I said, if I scheduled a Classroom meeting, and you probably got email links for that, and I also send you emails with links in, but if we're working on chapter 2 and you go in here, there'll be a link right in here also that you can join the class before it starts or during the session. There'll be a link in here for you to do that. Okay, that gives you a good introduction. I know it doesn't dive deep into the details, and I don't really know how many details there really are, but let me give you some other quick advice here. I'm going to click on this Meet Now button up here, and instead of scheduling a meeting, I'm going to meet now. And I'm going to put a meeting together with just myself in the meeting, and you can see my video here, and I'm going to hit Join Now. You can set up your PC mic setup, your sound setup. I have a bunch of different sources for both sound and hearing. And it's going to bring you into this window, and that's what you're used to when we have a class session. So I think most of you know that you can hit this button. By the way, my screen might look a little bit different at you than yours is. At the very end of this video, I'll show you how I got that. I think it's a much better interface. But you can show conversations here. You can show, well, when it's responsive, you can show conversations. You can hit and raise your hand. You can see it catching up with me now. So that's the chat window. You can raise your hand, and that will, if I'm on have my list of participants up, it'll show me have my hand raised, and when I click it again, it lowers my hand. And if I'm running the meeting, there's options for me to lower everybody's hand at one time. And there's more actions in here. Once again, there's this gallery setting, and you might not have that. I'll show you how to put that up on your screen and do that. What I'm interested in showing you is this whiteboard feature, because when you're in the middle of talking and communicate with someone, it might be nice to be able to draw something. So if I click this sharing option, a bunch of windows should come up down here, and the one I'm interested in is a Microsoft Whiteboard. Now, there's a whiteboard built into Microsoft Teams, and that's the one we're going to fool with first here. So I'm going to let everybody edit. I can just say only I want to edit. So we're going to collaborate on the whiteboard, and here we are. Now we have this whiteboard up and available. As I said, it's built into Microsoft Teams, and you can write things. I'm using my mouse right now, but you could buy a graphics tablet and hook that up, and that would work too. You can put type text in here. We won't get too exciting. Oh, not text, right? And once you have this stuff in here, as long as you have this icon selected, you click once to select on the device, and you can move stuff individually. The other thing that you can do that people might not realize is your scroll button on your mouse can scroll the size of the text up and down. It should do it separately. Doesn't always do it that way. So once to select it, and when you select it, you have to be on there. But sometimes it'll let you do both things separately as far as sizing. This isn't here. So there's an eraser, there's a thing to put sticky notes, there's all kinds of stuff you should fool with. Now, one interesting thing here, If I click on this, you'll notice that there's a Windows app that you can install on your PC, and I would recommend to do that because there's a lot more features. I've done that already, so I'm going to click open up the app, and it's going to go on my PC and open up the whiteboard. It opened it up over top of the previous window that we've been looking at. You can see there's a lot more features on here, but I'm just going to scribble on here a little bit, and then I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to get this out of the way, and you'll notice that the scribbling I did on the other whiteboard is here. So you don't see any other options other than what you have here. Let me bring my whiteboard from my PC up again. You can see if I uncheck this, I have all these options. Here's a cool one. I can drop an image on here, and some of the images that I saved were truth tables because I want to draw them a lot. So I drop that image on here. I got to turn it this way. I'm going to make it a little bigger. Okay, and the nice thing is I can draw right over top of the image. If I go back to the pen, I can put a 1 and a 0 in here, and it saves me from drawing all this stuff all at one time. These options are only available from this version that you install on your PC, so I would recommend to do it. You can clear the background, you can change the background thing, you can clear the screen if you started in here. You can do all kinds of stuff that you can't on the other one. So I'm going to minimize this. You can see I brought this up, it's here, and I thought I wrote on that in the other side, and it should be here. That must not have taken. Sometimes it takes sometimes too, so maybe I didn't. That's for another time. But the Microsoft Whiteboard app is a good thing to fool with and do. Use it in Microsoft Teams first and get used to it and see what's there. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing this. Here's the share content button. And that would allow me to share other windows and include the computer sound if I want to. By the way, if you play a video that you want someone else to see in Microsoft Teams, you have to turn the computer sound on or your video won't be there. So I'm going to stop presenting. So I'm going to stop sharing and come back to my window, and I'm going to leave the phone call. And software's catching up here, right? I'm going to leave the phone call, and the last thing I'm going to show you is this change that I made to my interface that you might be interested in. So if I click on my icon name up here in the top right hand side, I click on that and I go to settings. So I'm clicking on settings, and I make sure I'm in the general tab in settings, and I scroll down here a little bit, and there's an option that says turn on our new meeting experience. And I check that. By default, it's not checked. If you check that and there's no saving, it automatically makes that change for you. If you check that, then you have to exit out of the software for that to take effect. And remember, Microsoft Teams might not exit even when you tell it to exit. It might still be running in the background. So down in that little tray on the right hand side of Windows where you eject your USB drive, if you see a Microsoft Teams icon in there, you're going to have to exit that also, then restart Microsoft Teams, and you'll see this interface change that you have. It's a little crazy at first, but it's definitely a lot better. The other thing too is when you create a meeting, and I'll say meet now, what you'll find out is it's a whole separate window, and it wasn't before. It just went on Microsoft Teams, so it gives you a lot better control than it has in the past. So I would suggest doing that. I would suggest fooling with this. I'm looking to maybe chat with you a little bit more, and students to be able to use this more for questions, and hopefully this video will help us get there.